Yeah. OnChain revolution, you're not bullish enough. OnChain revolution, you're not bullish enough. Every day we steady looking at the market, and we gon' tell you how to get started. Chain abstraction, fear and greed index, always looking at price action. Woke on advance, you don't even gotta mention. Swap it in the decks, you're not bullish enough. Trade it in the sex, you ain't trenching enough. Whoa, we do that market recap. Too much Bitcoin, gotta go to rehab. Whoa, Shizzy and Joggle beat. OnChain revolution, network in the art. Every day we go live, baby, you know where we are. We mention all the networks and the crypto. Need some more liquidity, flipping and trading is the recipe. Too many protocols to count. I get high and I'm never coming down. Number go up, then I'ma say peace. Yeah, you thought that I was gonna leave. Yeah, we just getting started, man. OnChain revolution. Every day. Bring the beat back. Eyes everywhere, gotta be careful with volatile meme coins. You can get some bread if you round trip it, then you gon' regret. All this information in my head. BYOR, touch grass instead. Nobody really knows how it's gonna end up today. Somebody gotta tell you what's happening today. I don't let the money change me no way. OnChain revolution, here to stay. Yeah, say I'm sage, man. Voodoo 2 on the way. Yeah, Nicky's. Yeah, OnChain revolution. OnChain. Hey, OnChain revolution. Bitcoin not an illusion. Market recap, then I do a roll call. You're not bullish in the vocal. Look at the price action, change. Yeah, send it to the deck. Yeah, sell it through the stack. Order knows the best. Too much Bitcoin, gotta go to read. If you end up bearish, gotta put the knee pad. Let me see the comments. Look at the fear and greed index. Bridge. Look at the chart.
Welcome back to OnChain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire Bitcoin crypto ecosystems. What is up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the OnChain Hour, and this one is going to be absolutely awesome because not only do we have the OnChain Hour, but at 12 o'clock, we're going to be joined by the great guys at Arch Network. They just got a huge investment, $13 million in their Series A investing round, right? This is absolutely huge, right? Because this isn't just about them getting the money. Yeah, it's awesome. It's going to give them plenty of revenue, plenty of, road, right? They're able to really kind of take that money and kind of use it to keep building. Awesome. But not only that, they're actually getting the stamp of approval from guys like Pantera, from guys like Dan Held, guys who truly believe in Bitcoin DeFi. And that is the biggest part of why I'm so bullish on Arch, right? Is because a lot of other people, a lot of smarter people than me believe in them. And that right there means a lot. It means a lot, especially guys like Dan Held, who we will have on the show. I've been following Dan since like January of 2020. Really excited to talk to him and really excited to talk to Matt and kind of get his thought process on what's going on. We'll have Saturn on, the #1 DEX on Arch as well. And then DPI is going to be joining them as well. But before we get to that, we have a lot of amazing topics going on. We did not have Yagubi. This is day number 4 of no Yagubi. He'll be back on Monday. Looking forward to that. But today, I actually have an amazing guest. I have my man Derik. Derik actually joined us. I want to say last summer, and it was awesome. It was one of my favorite episodes of not having Yagubi here. Right? We have a lot of guests here, and sometimes it's not as great as others. But Derik was awesome last time, and I'm sure he's going to be awesome again. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Derik, welcome to OnChain Revolution.
What's going on, Shizzy? Appreciate you having me on today. Shout out to your Gobi on vacation, and shout out to the entire OnChain Rev family.
Yeah,
yes,
man.
sir.
So last time you joined us, we were Ordinal Revolution. We recently made the change to OnChain Revolution about 2 months ago to really bring people on chain, right? Like our biggest thing kind of was people were like, ordinals, I don't even know what the hell an NFT is. What the hell am I going to know what an ordinal is? So we had to kind of make that change to kind of bring people, the level 1 crypto user, the guy who just buys on Coinbase and leave it there, actually on chain. I'm curious of your thoughts on the name change.
I think that's a good change, right?
Yeah,
Because Ordinals is such a niche thing,
yeah,
right? And one of the reasons why I adopted the brand Derik Web3, I am a educator by background, and just talking about Bitcoin or crypto is really not enough, right? It's
yeah,
bringing Web2, people who just enjoy browsing the internet, introducing them to AI, introducing them to crypto, and as an educator, you really have to start from the beginning. So it's really hard to just jump right into that niche of ordinals, right? So, you have to discuss blockchain, you have to discuss
yeah.
the terminology. So I think it's a good change, man. And I think you guys are going to do well with it, with the name recognition.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. But I'd love to get into more about you, man. Tell the audience, you mentioned you're an educator, 20 years of experience education, right? That's absolutely huge. And kind of we were talking about in the back, like that's one thing that this crypto ecosystem kind of lacks is education.
Yeah, man. So, I've been in higher education, teaching as a faculty member for almost 20 years now. Uh, Operations and business management is really my forte. I got into crypto back in 2013, but I didn't really dive into it fully until about 2018. And, as we talked about earlier, man, like there's not really a lot of people who understand blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto, and it's been an uphill battle, right, in the education space, um, trying to get that integrated into the curriculum. Uh, I'm glad that we're really getting some type of regulation, right? Because it's a top down thing, right? You have to work with board members, you have to work with the administration to really try to get it integrated from the top down. So I'm glad to be in this position where I have people that I can educate and talk to about Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain. So it's been good. It's been real good.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it. And we were kind of talking about like our degen sides, right? What have you been getting into? What are you enjoying right now in crypto?
Dude, I'm super degen. Like when I first got into the game, man, I was on the Binance Smart Chain, right? That's kind of really my introduction, right? You remember how
Yeah,
that was, when that first dropped. And so I still love it at heart. It's fun. Some
yeah,
people, it's a casino, right? When you talk about degen, and some people enjoy going to the casino. Some people enjoy sports betting, right? Or playing poker or whatever your forte is. But I enjoy the things that I feel like I have an edge on, right? And that's research. I enjoy
yeah,
research, deep diving into topics, and more recently on Bitcoin, right? Odin.fund has been, you know, the most recent thing that I've been involved in. They had some issues, recently, with the little hack going on,
yeah.
shut it down. There hasn't been a ton of volume, but I do think it is a start to bringing widespread adoption to the Runes platform. And of course, recently Funky Bit, right? We're talking to the Arch Network later on today, and Funky Bit has been, you know, not as good, I don't think, as Odin as far as the user interface. I had some issues early on with Funky Bit trying to bridge my assets over, but they had a great support team, got taken care of, and of course, just the volume hasn't been there. But being early and understanding how to maneuver and operate on these new ecosystems, I think is the way to go. You pay for the education, right? You get on early, you understand. So when volume does pick up, you'll be right there in the game to maximize and capitalize on that.
Yeah, 100%. Like messing with these products now and really getting, that user experience down, right? 'Cause that's one thing about these newer platforms is the learning curve sometimes is a little different than what you're used to. But if you can kind of get into that now, we're in a bear market, right? Like pretty much, I think we're about to enter a really bullish time frame I think that in this cycle, we're dealing with a lot of bull, bear, all the way to Valhalla, right? Because we're gonna have to deal with these sideways time periods where a lot of the tourists leave, but then they come back, right? They eventually come back after a while. When they do come back, we're the ones that are going to be educated on knowing how to use these. We're going to have the advantages first while they're just getting their feet wet.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I don't think we're in a bear market.
No?
I think there just hasn't been clarity, right? I
Yeah.
think that the regulatory environment has kind of squeezed liquidity, right?
Yeah.
I think we've probably been on the upside of a bull market probably since about September of last year. With, of course, when Trump launched his coin, right, he sucked all the liquidity up, right? Everything was going great, right? I mean,
Yeah.
from September up until January, man, just killing it, right? With investments, degenning,
Yeah.
ordinals were up, everything was going great. And, after Trump launched his coin and sucked up all the liquidity, things have been kind of questionable. Now, I wonder, like, why hasn't there really been a big launch since then? Because he validated the meme coin game,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the biggest, the most powerful person in the world launched a meme coin. It really makes it legal, right? Honestly.
Yeah.
And so where do we go from now? From there is a question.
Well, so we had Melee do his meme coin, right? And the whole vape cabal, all those guys, right? They all got they tried to make some money with that, and then Melee's coin shot up super high and then went to zero pretty much. I think that was kind of like the dagger because like you said, Trump coin kind of took out all the liquidity from the market, and then Melania, which was I hated that, by the way. Like Trump I was okay with, but Melania, that would seem to be just like, all right, we messed up on that one, but let's try again. And that weekend, every coin got hit. Every coin, because people were dumping their assets, trying to get Solana, trying to get over there to get, and everyone was kind of getting Solana ready for the next one to drop as well, because they felt like, hey, we have Trump, Melania, who's next? Baron next, Eric next,
Right.
Don Jr. next, like who's next, right? So people were just dumping assets to buy Solana. Solana was like the only thing that went up that week. That was a really tough week, and I think that's we're kind of paying for that a little bit, especially in March. But I think that we're starting to see a lot of the people coming back now.
Yeah, and
So
the silver lining, I think, is kind of bullish for ordinals and runes,
yeah,
honestly, because there's going to be people trying to max extract everywhere on every platform, right, where there's money to be made. But I do think it's a little bit more difficult on Bitcoin, and so I think that people will start to realize that Bitcoin is really the place to play with meme coins, to play with these collectibles, right? Which is really what they're described as these days. So once people start realizing that, I think that we'll be in a great position where we are being on the mother chain and trading these non-fungibles and fungibles.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And something like Arch that is coming, that's going to allow us to trade these tokens in a fast-paced Arch VM, which is they forked the same thing Solana forked, right? So Arch is gonna feel like Solana. So I'm really looking forward to what they're building, and kind of hoping that they save us a little bit, right? Because I just can't see Solana users coming over and waiting the 10-minute cycle, that's 10 minutes to buy a meme coin, right? So I mean, that's why you're seeing Dog kind of bridge to Solana, kind of bridge to Cardano, bridge to, I think I even saw it over in Arbitrum. So they're kind of taking these Bitcoin runes and actually moving them to different chains, because people are just not okay with trading the 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the friction. And the friction is kind of what saves us from, a lot of these rug pulls.
That is
right?
true.
I mean,
that is true.
On Solana, Pump Fund, it doesn't really save you from a rug pull, but there is a little bit of validity there. Whereas with Ethereum smart contracts, you really have to understand some of the smart contract language and do your research and make sure there's no malicious code in there. But yeah, on Bitcoin is the way, man. I don't discount, the BRC20s, right? I am still very bullish on BRC20, BRC 2.0. I'm waiting for, that to get launched, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, me too. And on top of that, you got alkanes are really killing it right now in Bitcoin. I'm curious, have you partaked in the alkanes minting yet?
I have not partaken in
Yeah.
that yet. I've been hearing a lot about it. When the oil wallet first came out, I downloaded it, I checked it out. Really didn't like the user interface of it.
Yeah.
But I hear they're doing great things with programmability. So have you gotten into it yet?
No, I've been on the sidelines here, just kind of watching. I lost a lot of money these last couple of months,
Yeah.
so I'm just kind of waiting to kind of see, kind of wait for everything to kind of see which the top coins are. But that's the thing right now is like they're trading like BRC20s right now, right? They're trading like runes right now. There's no actual innovation yet. Innovation is yet to come. We're supposed to see dexes with the WASM, which is WebAssembly, like coding. And I was talking to some really smart people, and I said, "Hey, have you guys thought about this WASM thing with Bitcoin?" They said, "Yeah, we actually thought about it in 2023, but it's just really hard. It's not easy, and that's why a lot of people aren't doing it." But Alkine said, "We got this." So I'm curious to see what happens, and I would love to see a DEX on Bitcoin. Right now we have these centralized dexes like DotSwap and I think it's was it Rundex. So we'll see if we can get some decentralized ones with alkanes. But yeah, man.
Yeah, man, we're talking about all these different apps and platforms, and it's really fractured right now, man. You have a lot
Yeah.
of these, calls or talking heads, and they all have their own ecosystem that they're diehard about. And I'd love to see us come together and just really support, one platform and really get
Yeah.
behind it. I know it's tough because everybody wants to build and they're finding different ways to do programmability on Bitcoin. But I just can't wait until we have that one solution that everybody kind of flocks to. And I think Runes has been that. I know there's some kind of hate, but discontent with Runes being centralized. But I do think it's the best development on trading fungibles on Bitcoin so far. And I hope that more people can get behind it. But we'll see what happens with BRC 2.0 also.
Yeah, man, 100%. But in order to get there, we need a bullish market, right? We need Bitcoin to go up. Everything, we like it or not, everything kind of follows the king. And let's kind of check what I think the king's about to do. So this is the global M2 money supply, right? So this is insane because it follows. So the orange is the Bitcoin price action. The yellow is the amount of money being put in and taken out of the markets, right? So you're kind of seeing Bitcoin kind of do exactly what it has been watching them do money supply. Shout out to Colin Talks Crypto. He's kind of one of the front runners on bringing this chart to everybody. Now everyone is posting it, but this is the correlation is absolutely insane. And if we continue on this, I mean, this is predicting what is this $160,000 Bitcoin by like July.
I believe it, man. We're just waiting on the Fed to turn the money printer on.
Yeah.
I know China's, printing a bunch of currency, but everybody's waiting on the US to start printing again. And once that happens, it's going to be insane.
And that's the thing, right? So you see this the M2 money supply exploding. US hasn't started printing yet. We're still in quantitative tightening. We're still selling bonds into the market. What's going to happen when Jerome flips the switch and says, "Hey, we got to start easing the market. We're going to start going in and buying the bonds that China is dumping. We're going to go in and start buying the bonds that is causing the US I think it's the Dixie, the US dollar index, to just keep dropping. They're going to have to come in and try to save the Dixie eventually. And how do you do that? By printing money to buy bonds.
You've got to print. All roads lead to printing more money. And, I have an interesting take on this, and considering the political environment right now with tariffs and and the tariff war. My thought behind Trump's strategy is not really about China. I really think it's about pressuring the Fed to print more money and lower interest rates, because it's the one thing that Trump does not control in the United States is the Federal Reserve. And so in my mind, the negotiation here and the strategy here is to pressure the Fed to start printing money. So, he does not want to leave his legacy as a bad market, right? He wants to have the greatest market. He's a business guy. And so this is like the most important thing for the markets to go up. And so I think that at the end of the day, what he's doing, has other implications too. But one of the things has to be pressuring the Fed to start printing more money and lower interest rates.
Yeah, and he's already came out twice this week. I mean, he called him a loser on Monday, and then on Tuesday retracted that and said, "I can't." I was like, "I won't fire him if I could." So I don't know what his game plan with this. We do know that Trump is an amazing negotiator. I mean, he wrote the book like The Art of the Deal, right? So I'm hoping he knows what he's doing here. I'm hoping that he really kind of understands. Jerome has been really good at, he's been late. You can definitely say he's been late, but I think he did a great job getting inflation from 9% down to where we're at 2.8, right? So, and I think that he's very methodical in the way he's approaching this. And I just can't see him. I mean, we have a Fed meeting in about next week, right? About 10 days from now. And they're going to decide whether to keep rates the same or drop them 0.25. But the bigger decision in that is stopping quantitative tightening. Do you think they eventually pause maybe this meeting or the next quantitative tightening?
It's hard to say. There's a lot of pressure, coming from the top. So, whether it's at this meeting or the next meeting, it's coming, right? And they're all roads lead to printing.
Yeah, man. But are you ready for a bullish summer? We've never had. I mean, I've been in crypto now for going on 5 years, and I've never had a bullish summer besides DeFi summer. But it was very short-lived. It was very short-lived because it was like DeFi summer was like, people don't realize that they say DeFi summer, but DeFi summer was like 6 weeks of craziness, right? And then I think it was sushi. The sushi chef came out and dumped all of his sushi, and then everything kind of halted a little bit. But that was an insane 6 weeks. Do you think we have a bullish summer?
I do think so. I think so, man. And I hope everybody's well positioned. It's hard to, when you're degenerating on the side, man, sometimes it's hard to take those profits and, put that cash on the side so you'll be ready for, when volume picks back up. But I definitely think that all roads lead to a bullish Q3 and Q4 this year.
I'm here for it, man. I am here for it. Let's kind of get into the next thing here. I'm curious, man. So have you been paying attention to ETH Bitcoin? That's the price of ETH against Bitcoin. It has been a complete shit show, for lack of better words. It's just been so bad. I'm curious your take on it. And do you think we've bottomed over the course of the last couple weeks here? And this is the chart, but this thing has just been completely awful. I mean, we hit 0.017 price of ETH in Bitcoin, but we've recently had a pump here. Do you think we bottomed here?
It's hard to say, man, because ETH is one of those foundational cryptocurrencies that is going to lead to altcoins catching traction again. I do think that Vitalik has some questionable leadership strategies and what he's doing, right? They keep changing the strategy around what they're doing, right? How many times have they updated their roadmap to just completely change what they want to do with ETH? And so it's really hard to say based on his leadership what's going to happen. I do think, everybody says ETH to 10,000, right? It will happen. It's just a matter of time, right? But it's going to follow Bitcoin. It may have bottomed, but I think that, it just depends on what he comes out with and says. He can definitely tank things with his decision making.
Yeah, 100%. I'm in the same boat. I think that he needs to shut up, right? Just shut up. Just stop talking, because every time he talks, it doesn't seem to be going good. But as you can see here, like, we've just been so just down only with Ethereum, Bitcoin. But I do think that the bottom is in. I do think that this sharp little V correction here, it's done, and we're potentially going to see Ethereum, Bitcoin kind of start moving up. And what that's going to do, it's going to take Bitcoin dominance down. Bitcoin dominance is around 64%. So 64% of all crypto market cap is Bitcoin. And I do think that this has topped as well. And what does that mean? That basically means that I think people are going to go risk on. And when they go risk on, they get a little more degen. Money's going to kind of flow into Bitcoin, and the people that are positioned right now are going to take profit on that and kind of put that profit in something that could potentially 2, 3, 4, 50, 100x. Right. I think that we're about to get on a risk curve now. But because right now I talk to a lot of people, I'm like, hey, like, are you buying anything in runes and ordinals? And they kind of say to me, like, why would I give up my Bitcoin right now? I'm thinking Bitcoin's going to go to 200-300K. Why would I risk that? And it's yeah, I mean, 100%. But then you're going to have those same people eventually in the line, and they're going to think to themselves, hey, I mean, I can, put 1 Bitcoin in and potentially pull out 10. Right. I mean, that's where we want to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the power of meme coins and fungibles on Bitcoin, right? It's a leverage play. And the end goal of all of my degening, right, is to stack more Bitcoin.
Exactly.
I've been successful at it. Sometimes you lose money, right? It's the price of entry, but the end goal, you leverage your Bitcoin to make more money. And, that's what rich people do, right? They leverage their cash to make more Bitcoin, leverage their assets to buy more money, essentially.
100%. I can't wait till I'm able to do that, right? Go to my bank and just be like, hey, I'm going to deposit a Bitcoin and take out a $50,000 loan. And then I'm going to buy meme coins with that. No, I'm just kidding. But it's going to be a wild day when you're able to, because that's what rich people do. I mean, you buy let's just say a building in Manhattan. They leverage that building to buy more buildings. I mean, that's something that Donald Trump has done forever, right? So we will see if when we're able to do that, because we're able to do stuff like BlockFi and Celsius, but a lot of people lost a lot of money because they weren't regulated. But hopefully we get some regulated businesses that, you have to show one of one. If I deposit my Bitcoin, I want to make sure that Bitcoin is safe.
Right, exactly.
So. All right, next thing here is absolutely huge. New Hampshire Bitcoin Reserve Bill HB 302 has passed the Senate committee with a 4-1 vote. So New Hampshire becomes the second state to approve a Bitcoin reserve. This is massive because there's like 49 other states that right now who are got to be looking at New Hampshire and Texas and being like, do we want to be left behind? But what do you think about states, and not just the country, but states actually having their own Bitcoin reserves?
Super important. If you think about states with, pension funds and, these major investments that go into supporting, the revenues and expenses for the state, they have to have it in their portfolio. Gold, right? Bitcoin. I think they're going to be on the same level playing field when it comes to, making decisions for what you want to put in your investment portfolio for states. And this is just a template, right? You got Texas, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Who's next? Florida, maybe would be the next to pass. Here in North Carolina, I think we're a little bit far away from that, but just in due time, right? We have to have people in position who are educating these legislators, right? And pushing this agenda forward. And so I think most states have, Bitcoin groups who are, canvassing and actively trying to push the senators to pass these bills. Yeah. So, it's a good thing. That's why these communities like yours and, some of the clubs that I'm involved in around North Carolina, it's important because we go out to the state legislature and we talk to legislators and we try to educate them because people just don't know. Yeah. You it's funny, man, because I went to the bank, a few months ago, man, and was talking to my investment advisor. He knows nothing about Bitcoin, nothing. And how can you manage a portfolio of millions of dollars and you have no education about the hardest asset class, right?
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's very similar to back in 2020, or I guess the year 2000, right? When a lot of these tech stocks were kind of what crypto is now. They were kind of being, oh no, you don't, the internet, that's a fad, right? That's what it was. And the smart advisors made their clients a lot of money, while the uneducated ones lost their clients a lot of money. They got them into stuff like Macy's and Sears and things that they thought would be here forever, while other smart people were getting into Amazon and Google, the pillars of our society now.
Yeah, I don't blame them for not knowing. It's like I said, it comes from the top down, and I think that's why I think this regulation is important. These bills are important because it allows people to say, okay, this is legitimate, right?
Yeah.
I can now push this forward. I can now allocate to this. So these small steps, when you're dealing with systems and institutions, nothing happens fast. When you're dealing with bureaucracy, it takes a lot of time, but it has to come from the top down. And so that's why these things are so important. So it trickles down into our economy, into retail, and people can really allocate towards Bitcoin.
100%, man. Couldn't agree more. Jump to the next thing here. So Canada made history with the launch of 4-spot Solana ETFs on the Toronto Stock Exchange, the world's first spot SOL ETF with staking, which is crazy. So then the U.S. has Paul Atkins, the new SEC chairman, the guy who took Gary Gensler's job. He's set to speak at the SEC Crypto Roundtable tomorrow, Friday. So pretty wild, because this guy has 72 crypto ETFs sitting on his desk, and they said they were waiting for him to take office, so they weren't going to pass anything until he kind of gave his stamp of approval. What do you think about Paul Atkins? What do you think about potentially, like, we might really hit an insane period where we have 30-40 crypto ETFs that are on the stock exchange?
I think about this roundtable, man. I think about these guys in the boardroom sitting around talking about degen type stuff. But eventually, I mean, they will, right? I mean, when you talk about crypto roundtable, of course, we're talking about, banking and regulation, but, some of these, lower level platforms have to come up, right? Ethereum and these things. And I think it's extremely bullish to actually even have a roundtable at the SEC. But I just hope that I'm not sure who's all involved in that roundtable besides Paul Atkins, but who is in these people's ears, right? Who are guiding them? I know they're doing their own research, but they have to have people in their ears and letting them know what's happening, the new developments. So my question would be, who is giving them guidance, right?
Yeah. Or money. Who's giving them money? Who's
money.
putting dollars in their pockets? Because we do know that a lot of these people are very, I don't know the right word for it, but they're very corruptible, right? So is it guys like JP Morgan that may be saying, hey, like, we don't want crypto hurts banking, we don't want that? Or is it guys like Coinbase potentially like, hey, like, let's do something, amazing here? So that's one thing that worries me. The one thing that worries me is a lot of these politicians making $80,000-$90,000, or SEC commissioners making this money, but they're living in $10 million mansions, right? So, but yeah, man. Let's jump into the Bitcoin price action. The Bitcoin price action is brought to you guys by Artura.finance. Artura.finance, they're actually going to be a leverage trading platform on Hemi. Hemi is actually a Bitcoin L2 backed by Binance. This is important because when you're using Artura, you potentially have an opportunity to not only get the Artura airdrop, but also get the Hemi airdrop as well. So once they launch on mainnet, guys, I want our community to be over there playing on Artura, because I think the Hemi token is going to be something very sought after, and I think you guys can get it for free just by taking a little leverage on a little bit of money on Artura.finance. So guys, check them out, everything that they're building, and keep an eye on those guys. But let's kind of get into Bitcoin's price action right now. Bitcoin sitting at $93,200. Let me show this chart. It's been on a tear, Derik, man. This
Look
thing
at that
has been
candle, man.
on
Yes, sir.
on a mission right now. So let's jump to the daily. The hourly is wild, but the daily, man, it is something that just looks magnificent. How do you feel about the Bitcoin price action? Do you think we continue this? Do you think we have this upward momentum continue, or do you think maybe we have a correction?
Yeah, I think there's still a gap to be filled, somewhere down around 79. And if we get there, who knows? But I think that we're on that upward trajectory. If we can break through that 100,000 mark, man, I think, we're in price discovery again, right? But that candle is super bullish.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was at my computer. I saw it. I was like, all right, cool. We just broke 88. Oh, wow. We just broke 89. We just broke 90. This is crazy. $94,000. It was wild. It was a great day. What was that? That was the 22nd, which was 2 days ago. And then you had yesterday, which was sideways. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, man. I do think we see something very similar to this. Maybe by May 1st, maybe even like May 2nd. We're above 100K. Do you think that's something possible within the next week or so?
Absolutely. And again, I think it depends on the overall political environment. I think that some of the easing of the tariffs have caused this candle right here. Again, I still think there might be a gap still to be filled, somewhere down around 79 or 80. Whether we touch that again, it just really depends on what happens with these tariffs, right? And the next couple months or so.
79, man, that would not be okay. I mean, you really think that has potential? That could potentially happen in the next
absolutely.
week?
Absolutely. Not in the next week. Not in the next week or so. But historically, when those gaps are there, it's gonna fill it eventually. I hope sooner than later.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. But I just think we've been just held so far down. I mean, look at this, dude. This is from January 23rd, right, till now. It's been hell. It's been hell to be in crypto, especially to have a podcast. Viewership is down, right? Viewership is down dramatically. Like, and that's kind of been my idea of like what is happening in the markets is by the people tuning in, the people that are here, because it's mostly all retail traders that watch our show, right? So I'm actually curious. What do you think? Potentially, do you think this next bull run is led by retail, or do you think is led by potentially the big boys buying Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think that banking is going to be the next bullish indicator, right?
Yeah.
Once we have, I know we have right now some easing of the regulation around banking, but the banking sector is going to lead the next bull run, right? Retail, really, we're the ones selling, right? And that's really how it was caused the price going down. The overall political environment and retail, taking profits and selling. But banking is really where I'm putting my money around DeFi. And once the banks, start custodying Bitcoin on their balance sheets, that's really going to cause the next explosion, which I do think that we can still hit 200, 225 by the end of the year. Now, I do think that's on the table. I think there's a high probability that's going to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I'm 100% with you. My number might be a little higher. I think we hit potentially 700K next May.
End of the year?
Nah, not the end of the year. I'm thinking my target for the year is about 320, 350. And then potentially that's going to lead into insane January, February, March. And maybe next May we sell in May and go away. I mean, that's kind of what I'm planning for. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think that number is off the earth there?
Look, being in crypto, for the amount of years I have, nothing seems too crazy, right? Because it can happen. It can absolutely happen. I do think it's a little high, but like anything's possible. Again, my target, my high target is around 225 by the end of the year. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean it's very conservative. It's a very fair number. I think that's definitely I think that's definitely doable for sure. But I'm just thinking, so my 700K number puts Bitcoin at $10 trillion asset. Right now, gold is about a $16 trillion asset. I think gold continues on this rampage and gets to $25 trillion by the end of this year. And I think that Bitcoin can hit 10 trillion just because of the fact that gold is being mined every single day, right? There's more and more of it every single day. There's more and more gold, and Bitcoin's having, right? There's 3.15 or 125 Bitcoin come on the market every 10 minutes. So that's nothing to compare to how much gold they're finding. I think a lot of these boomers are, I hate to say it, but they're going to die off, and their son who's grew up with computers or their daughter who's grew up with technology is going to see Bitcoin as what they saw with gold.
Absolutely. Gold's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But we have this new asset class, and it's going to be widely adopted. And like you said, hardest asset, deflationary.
Yep.
But gold, I think gold is always going to be the world reserve asset. I think we'll have some duality here, right? As more countries start to adopt it. Still waiting on China to, ease some of their regulation on Bitcoin. And that's another bullish indicator. Once we hear anything easing, in Asia around Bitcoin regulation, I mean, that's going to have a blow off top.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Let's jump into the crypto bubbles here. This feels good, bro. We show the crypto bubbles every day.
Wow, nice.
it has not
green,
been fun, bro. But lately, I mean, Trump coin up 60%, Sui up 50%. You got Near up 21%, Tau, something I'm truly bullish on this cycle, is up 45%. Then you have Polygon is up 38%, Aptos 20, Floki 27. Where's Fartcoin? Where's Fartcoin at? Because Fartcoin's been a leading indicator. But what do you think about people kind of going after some of these altcoins? Do you think this continues?
Yeah, I mean, historically, altcoins, man, they go up and then they die, right? They die off.
Yeah.
When I teach people about Bitcoin, I try to not hone in so much on the altcoins, right?
Yeah.
Because it could be here today, gone tomorrow type situation. But there's huge risk reward, right, in some of these. And the major ones, right, your top 100 altcoins, I think there's plenty of opportunity there because they will follow once Bitcoin takes off, right? All these coins will follow, and we'll continue to see green as long as Bitcoin sees green.
Yeah, man. 100%, dude. Really, really going to be insane to see. I mean, it's kind of what we saw in 2020, right? You had Bitcoin really kind of lead the charge in December of 2020. And then in January of 2021, everything else went nuts. And then we see that, but it was a different time period. There's a lot of liquidity in the markets. There was a lot, interest rates were zero. People were taking loans out on their house and buying crypto with it. It was pretty insane time. Do you think we get a bull run that's maybe similar to 2021?
I do. And I think, I hate that the AI meta kind of died off a little bit. I think that's one of the best meta plays right now in crypto are these AI agents. And I do think they are going to come back around. We talked about people like, Agent Hustle, right? These LLMs and being able to integrate them with crypto and making decisions and buying tokens. These developments are going to catch on, and I think those tokens will come and start replacing some of these other top 100 cryptos.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming, for sure. I think AI is what is the DeFi summer. I think the AI basically had its 6 weeks of movement, then it kind of fell off, right? It almost died. Same thing happened to DeFi. People don't really realize September of 2020 was not good for DeFi tokens, but then January and February came around, and they were the top notch coins, and they were the talk of town again. And I think that same thing kind of happens here. We kind of had our AI winter December and January, and then we're going to have our kind of blow off top moment probably at the end of this year or early next year for a lot of these DeFi projects, or I'm sorry, AI projects. But
yeah, definitely looking at some of these blockchains, these top 100 platform tokens, where the blockchains actually are developing AIs around their tokens. So be on the lookout for some of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. Let's kind of jump into the crypto fear and greed here. So last week we were at 30. Yesterday we were at 72. I'm going to ask you to guess this if you don't mind. Where do you think we're at today? My hint for you is we're a little lower than 72. Where do you think we're at today?
God, a little lower than 72. With Bitcoin around 93K. I would think it would be higher, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe,
that's why I always give that hint, because me and y'all we do this every day. And
maybe,
if I don't give that hint,
around 65.
Dude, dead on, pretty close. 63. But yeah, I was a little like I thought we'd be higher, but I mean we did have a jump last Thursday. We're at a 30, right? And yesterday we're at a 72, and today we're at a 63. So I'm okay with this, but I think we're gonna be in the 80s next week. What do you think?
Like I said, man, it's always a question of what comes out in the political arena, right? If we continue to go, on the lines of easing tariffs, I think that Bitcoin's price is going to continue to go up, and therefore the fear and greed index is going to continue to go up.
100%, man. All right, let's get into that roll call today. Let's see who's in the comments today. We got so on the show we do a thing called First is First. It's the first comment of the day. We've been tracking it since January 1st. January 1st we had Mike's World 1, and they're kind of just counting it up, right? So today we have Mr. Sheedy, got his first win of the year. So we're giving away a Bitcoin frog December 31st of whoever has the most wins. And Danny Boy has 20 wins on the year. Followed by Webdro has 15 wins on the year. So shout out to you guys, man, giving away that Bitcoin frog to one of those guys. But Mr. Sheedy has his first win of the year. Shout out to Mr. Sheedy. You, my friend, have the first comment of today's episode. So shout out to Mr. Sheedy, man. Appreciate you. Mr. Hanky is here. Shout out to Mr. Hanky. Malam Yuri. Mats is here. Lackey Lukey is in the building. Danny Boy is here. Shout out to Danny Boy. It looks like Lackey Lukey was reaped, they're saying, which sometimes YouTube deletes the comments if you're too early for whatever reason. I don't know. But Lackey Lukey says he was first, but I can only go by what we see. So we do have a thing. So I was thinking about might be doing a most reaped voted. Maybe we'll give away a prize for the person who got reaped the most, which means their first comment got deleted for whatever reason. YouTube wants to delete them, but we might have a award for the most reaped vote on by your peers. So shout out. Sorry, Lackey, man. I know it's happened to you so many times, man. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Webdro is here. Nabob is here. Mempool Punk is in the building. Shout out to Mempool Punk. Lackey Lukey again. Chips and Dip. Shout out to you, my friend. Hoo Cats is big news from Merlin today. Yeah, we're gonna get into that a little later. Satoshi Nakamoto is here. Apparently Satoshi watches the show, but he says big show today. Derik is back, so you got a fan there, man.
Shout out to the chat.
Spindrift is here. He said, "Are you guys live every day?" Yes, we're live Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Vader Time is here. Shout out to Vader Time. ASAP Benji. Oh, men. And the award for most reaped comment goes to Lackey. Yeah, Lackey as turns. I don't know. I got to look into it more. I don't know how to look into that, but you guys tell me who is, and we'll give award to that to Lackey if he's most reaped. But shout out to Superfan building big noodle. Shout out to him. He's building heroes. My guy, always in the chat, man. Jonathan Mitchell just shout out in North Carolina. So I think we have another fan
NC,
there.
Baby.
Chief Axel is here. Shout out Chief Axel. Steamy J. Mark from Launchpunk says, GM, let's go. Smash that like. Yes, guys, please smash that like and share this video if you guys wouldn't mind. Zeesh is here. Shout out to Zeesh. And then we got Jonathan Mitchell. He says on-chain to NC 100. Yes, 100%, man. Thank you, everyone who made roll call today. Really appreciate you guys, man. It means a lot. You guys show up every single day. But let's kind of dig into this Merlin chain news. So I'm really bullish on Merlin chain, not just because they're a partner of ours, just because I'm kind of seeing what Jeff is building. Us and Jeffian being really good friends. Jeff is building Merlin for a long time. Merlin came out in April of last year. It's officially 1 year old, And we do know that we've been down only on everything, not just Merlin, but pretty much down only since last April, with a little bit bullish momentum in November going into January. But this is some big news from these guys. It's been a little while. So Merlin Chain joins the Wrapped BTC DAO. We do know Wrapped Bitcoin is one of the companies. I think Justin Sun is behind, which is huge because Justin Sun, is a billionaire. Historic moment for Bitcoin 5. Bitcoin Layer 2 meets the most trusted wrapped Bitcoin asset. So if you drop down a little bit, this is where it gets interesting. Merlin's founder, Jeff Bitmat Tech, has officially been appointed as one of the Wrapped Bitcoin DAO members. He'll sit at the table where wrapped Bitcoin policies, integrations, and expansions are decided, bringing the Bitcoin Layer 2 perspective into the DAO's governance. So Jeff will be one of 6 people to get the keys to the wallet, the Wrapped Bitcoin wallet. This is exciting for Merlin. I know Jeff is really excited about this. This is huge. Have you played on Merlin? Have you done anything over there?
I've researched Merlin. I never bridged over last summer. I'm hesitant for any, L2s, but I know that they, were building a very secure bridge, and I just didn't bridge anything over there, but I kept up on the activity that was going on there. Looks like a really cool product, been pretty safe and secure so far. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. And I think their biggest problem is dApps, right? I think the chain runs great. They're actually upgraded the chain recently. So they are a Polygon fork, and now they're actually going to be potentially faster than Polygon in the future because they're adding all this new stuff to that. But they're doing some really cool stuff, and they do a lot of Bitcoin DeFi, which a lot of people aren't really talking about. Everyone talks about runes and ordinals, but Bitcoin DeFi and staking Bitcoin. I mean, you can go over there, take your Bitcoin to Merlin, and actually get like a 4 to 6% APY on it when it's just sitting there. Right. So that's something big. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm like I said, we're close friends with Jeff. Like and I trust everything he's building and stuff like that. So a lot of other people, Bitcoin is one of those things where it's like don't trust, verify. Right. And when you're bridging something from Bitcoin, you're actually putting it in another wallet. But you have to understand that, if something like that would happen, it would be disastrous for everyone involved, including the team over there at Merlin. And that's not something that I don't think that they would ever I think they're preparing themselves to be really, really safe. And their wallet hasn't been hacked. It's been a full year and nothing has happened ever with the Merlin MPC wallet. So
yeah, and I think the staking is really important. That functionality for us to reach critical mass for Bitcoin adoption, having that ability to stake your Bitcoin safely in a decentralized, non-custodial way is really important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I couldn't agree more. 100%. That says so. The next thing here is the FBI says Americans over 60 lost nearly $3 billion in crypto scams in 2024. This is a problem. This is a problem in crypto. This is a problem for the internet, because you can say it's the problem with crypto, but I think my grandma, like, I think she gave her credit card numbers to a scammer before, right? But with credit cards, it's a little different because you can stop it and you're not liable for the purchases. Crypto, on the other hand, if you give your keys to somebody, they're gonna take everything inside there, right? And there's no getting it back. So how do we educate seniors and boomers that so they're not scammed anymore? This is a scary number. $3 billion is insane.
I mean, education is super important, man. I mean, that's the bottom line. But in any market, there's always people trying to take your money, no matter where you go. I mean, there's always going to be scammers. There's always going to be dishonest people. And so you just have to, educate yourself on risk mitigation techniques and being safe. Whether it's somebody, hacking you could be the safest, in your investment in crypto, but there's always going to be somebody, who can dupe you in some type of way. And you just have to be careful, man. I mean, what do you do when there's a new type of scam, right? I mean, somebody introducing a virus on your computer somehow in a new technique that you haven't seen before, nobody's alerted anybody about, right? So there's there's always going to be opportunities for people to scam you, but don't make it easy for them, right? So it all comes down to education and being safe, right? Don't sign any transactions that you don't know anything about, right? That's just number one.
For sure. But like our friend Jake Gallen from Emavolt, right? He recently someone reached out to him, a YouTuber actually, whose account was hacked, reached out to him from their account, and they basically said, hey, jump on a Zoom call with us. He said, yeah, and they said, hey, can you share your screen? When he shared his screen, he accidentally gave access to the scammer, and the scammer had full control of his computer and actually downloaded malware. So he had a lot of his assets stolen from a Zoom call.
Yeah,
like that like when stuff like that happens, right? So I'm never taking a Zoom call ever. Like, oh, hey, can you meet me in StreamYard? Like, because I don't, you know what I mean? Like Zoom, you can actually give somebody access to your computer. I guess that's for like if you work in a company and your boss needs to like show you how to do something, they can do that. But that is scary. And you can't do that stuff on StreamYard. So if I ever have meetings with people, I'm sending them a StreamYard link. I'm not dealing with that. But hacks and scams and stuff has been going on in crypto forever, and we definitely need to educate them. Let's just say you had a neighbor. Let's say his neighbor 65 sees you in the driveway or something. Says, hey, I know you're in crypto. I want to get into this Bitcoin thing. What would you advise that person on doing?
Well, for starters, I always advise them to just start out buying on a centralized exchange.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's when I teach, it's like 6 different levels of Bitcoin ownership. Right. The first level is, just buy an ETF. Right. That's somebody who doesn't want to do a lot of research. They're not very tech savvy. They probably have money in a 401k or in the stock market. Just go get some exposure, buy one of the ETFs and just let it sit. And I think once you start doing that, then you will start looking at the price action of Bitcoin. You start doing a little bit more research. And then you might want to go to level 2, right? And that's where you actually you buy Bitcoin on a centralized exchange, Coinbase, Gemini, whatever your particular choice is, right? Once you do that, and then you still want to learn a little bit more about how to self-custody, self-sovereignty, right? Then you go out, get your ledger or, your cold storage wallet or hot wallet, and then you take it off the exchange, right? So you self-custody your Bitcoin, right? Then the next step is you want to get deeper in that. Then we get on to, you're going deeper into fungibles, all right? And you can start leveraging that Bitcoin to buy fungibles and invest in runes or ordinals. And so it's that type of thing. And then if you want to get deeper in that, we can start building, right? Building apps or, start deep diving into, how you can create something. So, that's kind of how I start people and then move them towards the end goal of, really making that Bitcoin work for you. If that's what they want to do.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. It's like, hey, learn what it is first. And then potentially when you're ready, we'll get you, potentially started the ETF, and then go to Coinbase and then maybe open up an X first and send a little bit of that and then get a little bit of DGen, but always want to make sure that you're holding your Bitcoin and make sure that you are, potentially higher in Bitcoin than anything else. Yeah, I love that. I didn't even think about that. But just telling the older person, hey, just buy the ETF. You're used to it. You've done it for years. You've bought ETFs. You've bought stocks. There's no reason for you to go a little DGen unless you're putting in the time, right? Unless you're putting in that education. If you don't educate yourself, just buy the ETF.
Yeah. And it's a huge learning curve to go from, zero to self-custody, right? I mean, there's a lot that you need to understand, right? So you don't get scammed. So you don't, lose your money, lose your keys, or send a transaction, and burn that Bitcoin. So, you just have to take baby steps. And some people are more tech savvy than others. And so you have to evaluate that decision based on that person.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. But let's talk about someone who has a lot of Bitcoin, and that person is Satoshi Nakamoto. He now holds over $100 billion in Bitcoin. So I've been doing some due diligence into this, and it turns out Satoshi has 22,000 wallets, and each wallet has 50 Bitcoin inside. So what he was doing in the very beginning, he was the only one mining, right? So it was easy to win the blocks, and each block he was winning 50 Bitcoin. So he was just putting that in every single wallet that was mined was a different wallet. So he has 22,000 wallets, or he or she, because we're a group of people, have 22,000 wallets with 50 Bitcoin in there, totaling right now over $100 billion. This is quite insane. But a lot of people think that potentially Satoshi is dead, or Satoshi will never touch this wallet. What do you think as a Bitcoiner with this, seeing Satoshi Nakamoto have 1.09 million Bitcoin?
Man, it's a double-edged sword, right? If Satoshi is dead or decides on never touching it, I mean, it's super bullish for the ecosystem, right? Those tokens will forever be locked, and further, locking those tokens up and making, the price that much more valuable. But, if he were to come back, I think that probably would be a negative thing, right, for the ecosystem, because people would panic. With that much Bitcoin, there's a lot of risk there if those wallets would ever come active again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. No, I agree. And, some people are saying that, $100 billion solves world hunger. All right. What if Satoshi woke up and and he just dropped all this money in charities, right? And let's just say he was, something like that would destroy the price of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin will bounce back, right? Bitcoin will then become, more decentralized as it's in different wallets, not just one. Or if he dies with it, or if he died with it or dies with it, then you kind of see potentially these Bitcoins being gone. I mean, it's said that over 4 million Bitcoin are lost, right, from the early days, and there's really only going to be 17 million Bitcoin that ever really exist. Potentially, take away another million here with these, there's 16 million Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is it is, people lose these things every day. It sucks. Yeah. It's horrible, but it happens. But Satoshi said that in the beginning. Someone asked him, they said, hey, I lost some Bitcoin, which I do, and he said you have to consider it as a donation to everyone else when you lose your Bitcoin, because now there's less and less Bitcoin in the system.
Yeah. But like I said, if those wallets ever became active again, I think it would nuke the price, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, every Bitcoin wallet has an infinite amount of wallets inside. So it could be one set of keys, it could be 22,000 sets of keys, right? You just don't really how many keys he actually has with this. But yeah, I mean, he definitely, this is, it looks like he was just testing it, right? Making sure Bitcoin was running good, and had each thing kind of go into a different wallet. Really awesome. The history of Bitcoin. There's a bunch of books.
Does that make him richer than Elon?
No, I think so. Well, maybe not. I don't really know the rich list, but I would think so. I would think that Satoshi. Well, let's just say Bitcoin does hit that $1 million, right? That's a 10x from here. Satoshi is a trillionaire. That could be that. He will eventually pass everybody one day, as long as these Bitcoins kind of stay hidden and stay quiet there. But yeah, man. But it is officially Arch Thursday. We've been looking forward to this for a long time, guys. They reached out to us last week and said, yo, we got some huge updates coming. And turns out the updates was a Series A. It was led by Pantera. Pantera, $13 million in funding. Absolutely insane. But it's not really about the money, right? The money is awesome for runway. But this is a head nod from big investors. This is a head nod from VCs that kind of look at Arch and say, we believe in you. Right, we believe in you, and we're putting our money where our mouth is, and that is one of the biggest things that I got from the Series A round with Pantera, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's a validation, right? When you are able to raise that capital, it means you're doing something right. Your founders are building, but they're also putting in the infrastructure and the organization, and that means they'll be around. It's not just they're not trying to mass extract, right? They're building something that people believe in, and it's going to be around, and it gives them the capability to continue building great things. So I'm excited to see what they have going on.
Yep. Let's get it started. Let's bring up Nick. Nick, welcome back to OnChain Revolution. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Hey guys, how's it going? Glad to be here. What a crazy week. Yeah. Hey, Derik.
Yeah, man, it's been absolutely wild for you guys. I'm curious, like how the last month has been for you guys, because you know, I know this stuff doesn't happen overnight, right? This is something that you guys probably put a lot of work in. Could you kind of jump into some of that of like what happens behind the scenes on a Series A like this?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a process from marketing to operations. Every facet of the business is involved. Hopefully we'll have Matt on here to talk a little bit more about that. But it's a real group effort. It's not just when you're talking about layer one project that's building like a true ecosystem on Bitcoin, like we are. It's not just about you. It never is. It's always about the
Yeah.
apps that are building on you and what it's going to embody for these developers, for these true creators, right? And so that process of bringing everybody together to make an announcement like this successful is definitely a lot of coordination, a lot of movement. Thankfully, we have really good supporters in our corner, some of which your listeners will meet today. So super excited about the way these players just all came together to help us make this launch a success.
Yeah,
Nice.
man, absolutely huge. You got Pantera, but there's a lot other ones in there as well. Dan Held, someone in that I've been following for a long time, is a part of that as well. So really awesome to be able to talk to him in a bit. But where do you want to go next? Or first, should I say?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I want to, cede the stage to them because it's people like, Dan Held, obviously huge Bitcoin guy from the very
Yeah.
beginning, someone who's built a lot in the space, also a really genius marketing mind. So, you can definitely pick his brain on that. But he now invests in Bitcoin ecosystem and was one of the first investors in Arch through Asymmetric. And so he is someone who, just genius at this. Super excited to have him here today, as well as the good folks at DPI Capital, including Brent Fisher, who DPI, like a lot of our investors, frankly, but they've taken a really special focus on our ecosystem and are kind of aiding and enabling some of these projects that are building on us to get them off the ground. And super excited to have them. And I think what's just been really cool about all of this is that the vision of a actually liquid native Bitcoin experience is one that all the people here believe in and are like really putting their weight behind, both financially, but even more importantly, with their resources, time, and energy. So that's what's so exciting about the traction that we've had. Amazing launch. So many great people. If any of you joined like the X Spaces that we did immediately after the announcement, I mean, it was just like a laundry list of people who've been like just killers in this space and building on Bitcoin the last 2 years ever since ordinals theory came out. So super excited to see the floor to just really Dan and the rest of the folks, Brent and the others.
Well, Nick,
Yeah.
since we got you here, man, you're the marketing guy, right? I've heard about Arch Network for a while, but I didn't really have an opportunity to, really dive deep into it until there was a app that was built on top of your platform called FunkyBit, which, me being a degen in the Bitcoin ecosystem, I had to get on board when they launched. And so then that made me kind of do some research on your platform. But for the people who are here that may not know much about Arch, just give us a brief overview about what you're building and what makes it unique.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're building the permissionless financial rails for the Bitcoin denominated world, right? And so what does that mean? That means that having an actually decentralized way, permissionless way for us all to participate in the true Bitcoin economy. I mean, Bitcoin has been amazing. Originally came out, and Dan can talk about this more as someone who was having these discussions back in 2013, 14 in San Francisco. But, it came out as this way to transfer currency, direct payments, and, do that outside of the existing infrastructure that existed in some centralized operators. And all this does is it creates another way for you to use that digital gold and actually, make it more productive and make it more programmable, right? So you mentioned FunkyBit, great app, be able to build Bitcoin meme coins. It solves the liquidity problem, makes it much easier for you to spin up a rune and to crowd fund it and community. And then also to be able to, transmit that into, an asset that can be played around with, right? And obviously meme coin launch pads aren't the end goal. They aren't the only thing, but they are a fun start. And it just goes to show that, people have an appetite to do more on Bitcoin, on the mother chain. And what Arch does that maybe like a layer 2 doesn't, or these other things, is it makes it a truly much more of a native experience where you can do it straight out of your Bitcoin wallet. You don't have to bridge your assets. That theory just hasn't worked. You see all these L2s, and what happens is, one, Bitcoiners really care about the security and don't want to play on L2. But two, how do you pick one? They're not differentiated. There's just all these different L2s. You're fracturing liquidity, and you're making it so that there isn't really a true Bitcoin ecosystem emerging. And what I think was just killer about the brainchild that Amin and Matt came up with here, the two co-founders, is a way to be able to do this on the base layer that's much more interactive, that's much more native, so that people can actually keep that liquidity of Bitcoin, let it flow, and have it be interoperable with other Bitcoin apps. So that we're not just living on Bitcoin app islands, but actually creating a true community here. So I think that's what's exciting about it. And I think that's why we've gotten so much traction early on.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Love it. That's a great breakdown. 100%. Let's bring up Dan Held. Dan, welcome to On-Chain Revolution. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, man. I've been following you, Dan, for a long time. I got into crypto probably around 2020 January, and the first person that I found that kind of got me in the Bitcoin, for instance, was Anthony Pompliano, followed by What Bitcoin Did podcast, and you were actually one of the first episodes that I seen, and that episode was Bitcoin's monetary policy, right?
Oh,
and
cool.
Back then, you were that was an awesome episode. I think it was like probably one of the top the first 10 episodes of that. And but back then you were a Bitcoin maxi, and then around 2022 you kind of you went, as in your words, you said Bitcoin maximalist to Bitcoin rationalist. I was wondering like the mindset of that. Can you just kind of speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first and foremost, Bitcoin is my sole priority. I still think Bitcoin is the most important thing here by a huge mile. I think the prices in the market also reflect that currently, as more and more folks are realizing it's Bitcoin and then there's everything else. But it doesn't mean that like Bitcoin is the only thing and that there isn't some interesting things that are occurring. And so I came to this conclusion after spending time in the Ethereum ecosystem and Solana ecosystem at Solana Breakpoint, NFT NYC, and saw some really interesting things. So Bitcoin's primary user acquisition method, going back to a marketing terminology here, has been through speculation. The speculative waves of 2013, 2017, and 2021 drove a vast majority of Bitcoin adoption. It's an uncomfortable truth, but it's a truth, and it's undeniable, to where most people come for the speculation and stay for the sound money. Now, not as many people come for the speculation that stay for the sound money. Like most people come and speculate and only a few remain, and that's why Bitcoin's price drops after these cycles. However, that's the primary acquisition method. What I noticed about NFTs and other assets on Ethereum was that these other types of financial instruments, whether it be NFTs, which are a unique asset type, NFTs don't compete with Bitcoin. It's like saying that art competes with Bitcoin, which would be silly to say. NFTs, governance tokens, which resemble some forms of equity, these are other asset types that give different audiences, again, going back to marketing terms, audiences exposure to Ethereum. So I was at NFT NYC and I noticed these artists. I was talking to these artists and they were talking to me and they go, well, I bought this NFT for 0.1 ETH. I flipped it for 0.3. And these artists have no idea how Bitcoin or Ethereum works. But now they're thinking in the Ethereum standard. They're quoting their P&L or their profit and loss or the money in their wallet as an Ethereum balance, like Ethereum as their unit of account. And that really kind of shook me a little bit. And I was like, you know what? These people may never understand Bitcoin because they got exposed to Ethereum in this fashion, this speculative fashion. Bringing the DeFi or these speculative instruments to Bitcoin increases Bitcoin's acquisition velocity. It increases Bitcoin's dominance within the crypto sector. And so for me, DeFi on top of Bitcoin is an incredibly, it's a multiplier effect on Bitcoin's already strong acquisition method, which is the spot trading, Bitcoin's spot price going up. And also it fulfills, I think, Bitcoin's long-term promise as this money, this gold 2.0, with different layers of a financial system built on top of it, lending, borrowing, Bitcoin being used as collateral to secure other networks, Bitcoin being used as a proof of stake asset to secure other chains. All of these, I think, fulfill Bitcoin's ultimate vision of being gold 2.0. If you have the best reserve asset, the best collateral in the world, this pristine piece of collateral with a monetary policy that we absolutely trust more than any other monetary policy on the planet, why wouldn't I want to use that to collateralize a loan? Why wouldn't I use that to secure a network? So for me, Bitcoin DeFi fulfills Bitcoin's ultimate purpose. And this is where I break away from more of like the traditional Bitcoin maximalists. I would call those like Bitcoin Puritans, where they believe Bitcoin's block space should only be used for transactions, like day-to-day coffee payments. Well, that's actually very analogous to how the Bitcoin cashers referred to Bitcoin, and they were also wrong about that. Bitcoin's block space is scarce, and that scarce block space means that only high-value transactions, which will either be large Bitcoin value transactions or DeFi transactions, will be the primary bidders of Bitcoin block space. Layer 2s, which are things that we invest in at Asymmetric, will shoulder most of the burden of Bitcoin's usage over time. The Puritans also ignore a fundamental part of Bitcoin, which is that Bitcoin's entire history of Bitcoin's block space has been filled with speculative transactions. Bitcoin's earliest block space usage was for gambling and for drug purchases. There was never a Bitcoin, and I've been there since almost the beginning, since 2012. There was never this utopia where Bitcoin is being used to buy coffees, and that was a predominant portion of Bitcoin block space usage. No, it was always speculation and other activities that, by the way, this adheres to Bitcoin's basic use case. It's a asset where we completely trust the monetary policy. It's the most credible monetary policy on the planet. You can store it in a way that's extremely hard to seize. It's like a Swiss bank account, and you can't censor it. So transactions like for the Silk Road were a great use case for that. But using Bitcoin for coffee payments doesn't make much sense. I know there's a very long-winded way to answer your question, but I had to cover a couple different components of that.
No, I thought it was perfect, man. It was like poetry to me. I love it. It's awesome again to have you here. Like I said, I've been following you for a long time, but you guys are over at Asymmetric. You guys are an investment firm, right? And originally you guys did some DeFi stuff over on Ethereum, but now you seem to be mainly staying on the Bitcoin with the L2s, and now with Arch. And one of the biggest problems with the Bitcoin L2s is why use an L2 when the Bitcoin block, the mempool is, there's nothing there, right? So why would you use an L2? The whole point of an L2 is to help L1. So with Arch, do you see potentially Arch being that the thing that runs on top of Bitcoin that actually could be very successful?
Yeah, so a couple of things here. One, Asymmetric is a firm created by Joe McCann. Joe and I are the co-GPs of the Asymmetric Bitcoin DeFi Venture Fund. It's one of the funds within the firm. There was a previous venture fund that's fully deployed, and they deployed over on Ethereum and Solana, mostly Solana dApps. Joe and I have a very strong thesis with Bitcoin DeFi, to where we believe that this is one of the most asymmetric opportunities in the space. And when we started the fund, it was largely ignored. There was very few folks allocating capital to this category. Joe is a very contrarian thinker. He was very early on meme coins and Solana and Bitcoin DeFi. So we shared that same thesis with Bitcoin DeFi, and that's where I run the Bitcoin DeFi Venture Fund. But I want to make sure we highlight Joe's involvement here. Regarding Arch and what I would call meta protocols, so you have Bitcoin L1, which is the Bitcoin base layer. You have Bitcoin L2, which are layer 2s, and those can be in a variety of different forms, like Lightning, which is a state channel, or you have a side chain, which would be like RSK, like Rootstock, or Liquid. For folks who are more Ethereum oriented, this would be like early Polygon. For meta protocols, we're incredibly bullish, and we think this is an underappreciated category within Bitcoin DeFi. And so Arch, we would bucket under meta protocols. I know that sometimes I think they kind of struggle to think about how they position themselves, whether it be an L2 or meta protocol. However, what a meta protocol is are you all familiar with ordinals? Have you guys played around with that at all?
Yeah. Well, we used to be Ordinal Revolution, and then recently just became OnChain Revolution. We've covered Ordinal since April of 2023. So yeah, we're definitely familiar with that.
Oh yeah. For folks who don't know, the people listening to this, so basically how ordinals work or meta protocols work on Bitcoin is, imagine we're all wearing augmented reality glasses and we're observing the Bitcoin base layer. The Bitcoin base layer doesn't know we're wearing augmented reality glasses, nor does it care. But we're all wearing these augmented reality glasses that are running the same indexer or software, which means that we all interpret layer 1 activities in a different way. So when we look at the Bitcoin base layer wearing the same augmented reality glasses, we are seeing transactions occur, and we are subjectively assigning value that doesn't exist on the Bitcoin base layer. We are agreeing that me sending a transaction to Derik represents not just a value, a Bitcoin value, but an NFT or something, some other asset type. So that's what a meta protocol is it sort of allows you to be a layer in between an L1 and L2, which is quite unique. And I think Bitcoin was the first protocol to really do this. Casey Rotomore was the inventor of ordinals, and I think it was a pretty cool breakthrough. So with Arch, Arch touches on this to some extent, and we think this is a really cool sector to be in, because you can have people interacting with smart contracts, with Bitcoin DeFi without having to leave layer one. Now, to answer your question that you asked, how do we kind of see the balance between L1 and L2 activities? Well, this is an equilibrium sort of thing where we think, of course, you've got fixed block space on the Bitcoin blockchain, and there's variable demand. Now, naturally, if demand increases and climbs, which we hope it does over time, that should increase the transaction fee cost, because a lot of people want to get into a Bitcoin block, and so a lot of people will bid for that. As that goes higher, that'll bump lower value transaction types to layer twos. So people will wrap their ordinal assets, or they'll do Lightning, for example, would be like a Bitcoin, layer two sort of just transaction where people are just moving small amounts back and forth. So we see it as an equilibrium where it's not, will it all happen on L1 or L2s? We think it'll be both. Where the predominant gating mechanism for will this happen on L1 or L2, the predominant gating mechanism will be, well, how much of a value of this transaction is it? For example, if I'm sending $10 million, I'm going to pay a $100 transaction fee to have it settle on the Bitcoin base layer. If I'm sending $1,000, I don't mind if the game theoretic security on that L2 is a little weaker than my security guarantees on Bitcoin L1. So long story short, it's an equilibrium, and we see a huge blossoming of activity likely occurring on both L1 and L2. Meta protocols tap into Bitcoin L1 activity.
Yeah, great answer. I 100% agree. I think that what Arch is doing is another basically another way of doing it, right? The L2s are awesome. They're proven. The EVM route works. What Arch is doing is awesome because no one's really doing it. Like it's different on so many levels of rolling up the transactions and actually putting them into a Bitcoin block.
Yeah, there's a variety of different ways that people have constructed meta protocols and L2s. So, we think we're huge believers in the team. Matt's super sharp. When we look, so Asymmetric Bitcoin DeFi Venture Fund is an early stage venture fund. So when we look at early stage deals, we have the technical implementation, right? But you have the founders, and that's what we really focus on. Are these founders the ones who are going to make this happen? Anyone can talk about an idea, but is this the right team to make it happen? And Matt and team, these folks are super solid. We love Matt, really sharp guy. And these are the types of folks building an L2 or a meta protocol is extremely difficult. One, you've got to raise enough capital to be able to go build a very technical, game theoretically sound infrastructure. You have to entice dApp developers to come build. You have to create incentives to get users to come consider your meta protocol or L2. And so when we look at founders, they have to be really multifaceted here of their ability to sell the narrative and to sell their vision and get people to come build and use on their protocol. So yeah, for Arch itself, we again think that the meta protocol space is really underappreciated. So we like the game theoretic architecture that they've sort of built where, you've got some, for example, like it is a meta protocol, but at the same time, transactions on the Arch network exclusively are much faster. So it really depends on, for us, we think there's going to be multiple winners in this category to where we're not overly prescribed to any one technical implementation. We are betting on multiple founders in each category because we are looking at different ways that people can build L2s in meta protocols.
I think that's extremely important, not to be locked in on any one particular protocol, because there's so many developments happening right now. And as you go about doing your research for new investments into these meta protocols, what type of things are you doing? Like, are you playing around on the platform first and kind of digging down into the documentation? Like, how do you find the new and things happening?
That's a great question. So a lot of these are just white papers, or we're early stage, so we really index very heavily on the team. And then the idea itself, sometimes when we invest, the idea is still in like white paper stage. Sometimes it's been, it's in testnet. Because we're so early, we're typically there before mainnet. I mean, I don't know of a time when we invested before mainnet. So it's quite difficult for us to actually play around at these things. In terms of our due diligence, though, like we're really close with a lot of technical folks, including Bitcoin core developers, Bitcoin Layers team. I don't know if you guys know what Bitcoin Layers is. Bitcoin Layers, they cover different Bitcoin L2s and meta protocols and are super technical and I think we appreciate their dose of cold water on a lot of these ideas. We think their technical expertise is phenomenal. I think they under-index on marketing and narratives, but we appreciate this cold, hard, rational take on L2s and their security, like their security issues that they could have. So we interact with technical folks. When it does hit testnet, mainnet, we are able to test out different dApps and play around with it. And then we also have an internal technical team as well that review the white paper and technical code. For us, we take that technical deep dive, combine it with our state of understanding of other L2s and meta protocols in the category. And if we think that's a nice fit, or if we like the game theoretic trade-offs that they've made. And then team fit, of course, we look for founders that are going to go pound their head against a brick wall until it turns into dust over the next 5 to 10 years. I've been a founder twice. It's a fucking grueling exercise. What's funny is I found, now that I'm a venture capitalist, I found that most VCs have never been founders, which is kind of wild to me. I don't understand how you could be a VC and never been a founder, but I intimately understand what it takes to be a good founder, and I know what good founders look like. After spending 10 years in the Bay Area as well and seeing thousands of founders, whether they be my friends or colleagues, et cetera, I see what good looks like. And so we look for that in the founders, that grit, that ability to convince other people to join their cause, whether it be investors, employees, or BD partners. I mean, they have to wax a pretty poetic narrative and be very convincing, because they have to convince a lot of people to come work on this. So that's what I look for personally in the DD process, is I can suss that out from a founder perspective. Also, of course, we dig into deep details of reaching out to their former colleagues, asking, what do you feel about this person as an individual? Of course, their background comes into play here. We typically invest in founders that have a couple co-founders. We invest in companies that have a couple co-founders. It's pretty hard to be a solo founder, very, very difficult. And usually you want a mix of a couple co-founders. Like, of course, you have to have your technical founder, and then others who might be better on like growth or marketing. We think that's a really potent mix in talent.
Yeah, man, I love that. So I guess, like, what do you guys see in the guys from Arch? What do you guys see in Matt and Amin?
I mean, Matt is relentless. So I think anyone who's met Matt can attest to that, whether it be hustling to get dApps to build on top of them, whether it be his ability to go fundraise, attracting top talent within the company. His relentlessness, I think, is what it's necessary to succeed. Nick is a brilliant marketer, by the way, with Asymmetric, with our portfolio companies too. Given that my background, I was formerly head of marketing at Kraken and worked at companies like Uber headquarters as well. I come from a user acquisition growth marketing background. So, we definitely give the time we need with founders and their teams to jam on different go-to-market strategies. So we're pretty involved there as well. But yeah, Nick's brilliant over on the Arch side. And then Amin, really brilliant technical founder. So all around, love the team.
Yeah, 100% agree. Definitely really awesome to get your opinion on that. Really appreciate you spending the time with us, man. Well, we'll let you go for some other guys, but any last words?
Well, thanks for having me. And look, I think Bitcoin DeFi, if you're listening to this right now and you're curious about it, Bitcoin DeFi, I've been in this space 12 years. It will be the biggest opportunity ever to exist in crypto. I mean, you're looking at Bitcoin TVL right now, like how much Bitcoin is locked into DeFi, as an extremely small percentage of Bitcoin's market capitalization, like 0.1%. Bitcoin, if that gets unlocked and that reaches Ethereum's level of TVL, which is like 30%, you could see these Bitcoin protocols be worth billions or tens of billions of dollars. These are incredibly huge developments. Bitcoin L2s are valued very low compared to Ethereum L2s, and Ethereum L2s support a much smaller chain. So if Bitcoin DeFi can be unlocked, this will be one of the biggest opportunities ever to exist in the space. That's why I'm so bullish on it. That's why at Asymmetric we're so bullish on the category. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me. And if for folks who are curious, follow me at Dan Held or danheld.com if you want to read more about Bitcoin DeFi.
Yeah, man, 100%. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Let's bring up the next guest here. That was amazing, man. What's your thoughts?
Dude, it's so important to have VCs in this space around ordinals and Bitcoin. I mean, because it just gives incentives to builders to keep building, man. You got to have that. And shout out to Dan and Asymmetric for providing these avenues for these great tech builders to keep doing their thing. You know, there's got to be an end goal, and shout out to Arch Network for, you know, being able to raise that money. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, without venture capitalists, there'd probably be 90% less builders, right? Without funding, these builders can't take their vision and put it down, right? Put it down in code. So it's awesome that Dan believes in Arch. Just like it's really cool, kind of seeing like Tara, Dan, and a lot of these other guys in the Series A all truly believe in Arch. It was really awesome to hear him say that. So, but let's get into the next one. Another VC fund. We got DPI Capital. Brent Fisher, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What's up, Brent?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good, man. Good. I've been looking into DPI. We had Arch about 2 weeks ago come on, and they were kind of telling us about how you're not only, you know, investing with Arch, but you're actually taking a deep dive into a lot of these builders that are building on Arch.
Yeah, we've kind of become a quasi ecosystem fund for Arch Network. I've been in the space since 2013 as well. Started as buying Bitcoin retail, like most people did around that time period. Went into investing into Ethereum and other dApps in the Ethereum ecosystem. Always was an angel investor, but last year I decided to start a fund. Have been an LP in a handful of crypto funds leading up to that. And then while we were doing fund formation, we started looking at deals to warehouse, kind of wanted to get our deal flow management processes in place, figure out top of the funnel, show LPs, you know, what kind of portfolio we were looking at. And we really started as generalists because both my partner and I have, you know, over a decade of experience in the space. We figure we can look for good opportunities, identify them, and, you know, make the investment accordingly. Ran into Matt about after 3 warehouse deals, small checks, ran into Matt and Arch Network, and knew within the first 5 minutes that we were going to make the investment. I really didn't need to do any due diligence.
Wow.
I'm actually better investing when there's less data, to be quite honest. I'm an early stage angel investor. I could do it with a 1-pager and 15 minutes with a founder. I've been really successful with that model. So actually data sometimes distracts me, to be quite honest. It could get in the way of making quality investments. I knew what he had was special. I knew that he was special. I knew Amin was special. The team that they were building was special. But yeah, within 10 minutes, I was like, all right, well, you know, where do I send the money? How much can I get?
Awesome.
You know, kind of thought for about, you know, 2-3 weeks, kept talking with him as we were also looking at other deals, and started feeling like the other deals were just looking more Mickey Mouse every day as I leaned into Arch. And I kind of started feeling like, you know, the EVM world was a game of whack-a-mole. I actually kind of just said, you know, to him, hey, what if we just start investing in every dApp that you think's a pillar in your ecosystem? And he goes, sure, I'll introduce you to the guys at Saturn. And so we met with them and wrote a check to them. And then it's, you know, kind of formalized it over the last couple months of, let's just do this together. And they created Keystone, their incubator / accelerator. We write the first check to, you know, and we use them for the vetting process. They, you know, we actually, we lean on them a lot for helping us decide, you know, where this money should be allocated, because it's their baby. You know, the Arch Network is, you know, their thing, and we just want to support it as much as possible. And we have the utmost trust in the team, in Matt especially. So Yeah, I take a little bit different take on it than Dan probably, as far as I don't really think diversification is a great idea if you know what you know and you find something great. So I think Warren Buffett said, something of that nature. Diversification for the sake of diversification doesn't mitigate risk. He said something a little different, but I don't want to actually quote him because I think it's a little bit harsher. Yeah, I mean, I think that Arch has the ability. I think that Arch has the ability to eliminate basically all other L1s, including Ethereum. Because if you start looking at, well, and I think Dan mentioned unlocking, BTC into the Arch network, getting the TVL. I mean, there's billions and billions of dollars, and we're talking to institutional. I think that's one good thing that Matt did right away too, is figure out an institutional play with Anchorage, and I think that's huge because I think we will bring in institutional TVL rather quickly. And yeah, I think that if you start thinking about it, if you're going to do DeFi, what would you rather have as the underlying asset, right? Would you rather have Solana, Ethereum, or Bitcoin? I think Bitcoin, right? So I think at the end of the day, Arch, I like I said, I've been around the space since 2013. I haven't seen anything like Arch since Ethereum launched in 2013. So I remember I was at BTC Miami when Vitalik got up and made the presentation, and half the crowd booed. And I think that Arch Network combines the best of both worlds, right? DeFi, but with Bitcoin as the underlying asset. So I think that we'll see Arch rise in the rankings of market cap, and I would like to see it within 3 years be number 2 behind Bitcoin.
Wow.
Yeah, 100. That's incredible. You got a question, Derik?
Yeah, that's very high regard, Brent, for Arch Network. Definitely, you see something in them, which is amazing. Shout out to Matt for convincing you on the first conversation, man. That's pretty awesome. But you know what you know, man, and I like what you have to say about Arch Network, and it makes me want to do a deeper dive, especially the part about the institutional funds, because I believe that's the most important, indicator for mass adoption for Bitcoin, is bringing in those institutional funds. Do you have any more information about how or that's gonna happen?
Yeah, well, Matt, Arch has made a partnership with Anchorage. So you got institutional grade custody there, but it is self-custody in the sense that you're still using Arch's stateless vault, but with Anchorage. And for them, there's a basic delta neutral strategy that Matt has created, that Arch has created, that will give them somewhere around 10%, 12% range. Very safe, low risk. But I think over time, as we build these pillars out, the borrow and lending, the buy now, pay later, the perps desk, the RWA, which is being built right now, I think some of these things will offer higher risk profiles, but still very safe. But you can, maybe take 10% of let's just say ARK, right? Like, Kathy Wood can take 10% of her 4.4 billion. She can put the 4.4 billion into a delta neutral strategy, but she can take 10%, and dabble in some of these other yield strategies that might get her 15, 20%, maybe even higher sometimes. So and I think like some of this stuff is going to work two ways, right? It's a two-way street. So like RWAs, and I think our RWA that we're building will bring in probably 3 to 5 billion in assets within the first 12 months, because they can over collateralize the tokenized RWA asset that they have and then participate in Bitcoin yield, right? So I'm on the board of Smart Gold, which is a $600 million gold fund that is tokenizing on Shintai. We're going to bring that into, because Shintai is the back end of Arch's RWA. We're going to bring that in to the Arch network, right? And what they want to do is over collateralize their gold and then participate in Bitcoin Arch yield. So I think it's going to work both ways. You're going to see Bitcoin participants come in and be able to leverage their Bitcoin and participate in RWAs and get yield on REITs or yield on other yield products that diversifies their portfolio a little bit. And then, of course, all of you have held Bitcoin for a long time. There really hasn't been anything you could do with it. So this is a unique opportunity that I have, a lot of good friends that have been holding since 2012, 2013. And they're like, wow, I can finally get some yield. I can actually make money without selling it, because, you feel horrible to sell your Bitcoin, and a year later it's double, triple. And, it's an emotional experience to have to sell any Bitcoin at all. So this is an opportunity for them to actually, pay their rent, pay their mortgages, maybe start a business, whatever it may be. So I think that you're going to see a lot more retail customers want to come into Bitcoin because there's a utility factor now that you can get yield, do something with it. And then the institutionals, I think it will be table stakes. I mean, the first institutional ETF that comes into this and can offer 10, 12%. I mean, the outflows of every other one is going to go inflow into whatever one's doing this. So it'll become table stakes right away. So Michael Saylor can pay his convertible notes with this, right?
So at this point, do you think it is inevitable that they'll have success bringing in institutional capital, or is it still kind of in theory?
Nah, it's inevitable. They're the only Bitcoin native. They're the only ones where that the stateless vault gives you the custody where you can see. You don't have to bridge. You don't have to wrap. I mean, I don't think that, Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood are going to do a bridge or wrap their Bitcoin and give it to somebody to get 10%. That's just too much risk. I actually think that they probably have in their LPAs that they can't do that. So there's probably custodial insurance and liabilities and so forth. I think with Anchorage, everybody knows Anchorage. Everybody respects them. All of the institutionals have used them on some level or are using them today. So I think that was probably a perfect marriage for Arch. I think it's inevitable. And that's, I guess, where I differ from a lot of VCs right now is I don't see any other option but this. And I kind of see this eliminating pretty much everything else.
Incredible. So potentially I'll be able to get an RWA version of gold and putting in an LP with Bitcoin on Saturn and earn yield on a gold Bitcoin ETF LP.
100%. Or you can go to Arch's perp desk and bet against, Bitcoin, have Bitcoin on one side of the trade and gold on the other, right? So we'll have plenty of options for you, Shizzy.
I love it, man. I love it. This is incredible. Amazing. But like you didn't just get in bed with Arch. You got deep. I mean, you're in Funky Bit. It looks like you're in Saturn. You're in Ordees. You're in most of the top projects that Arch is giving. How do you do research? Did you meet all these founders, or is this kind of Arch telling you like, hey, we believe in this, and you just kind of trusting Arch?
Yeah, I think that, I have a really good relationship with Matt, and we kind of just talk through it. And, sometimes we go back and forth, and I respect him a lot. He respects me a lot. So I think sometimes it's just a conversation. There's other people that are involved. Caleb, who is the head of Keystone, who's amazing. Shahan, who's my other GP and my partner. He weighs in. Nick, I think Amin a lot of times will assess the technology. So we make decisions based on what Amin says. It's a collaborative effort. I think once we have consensus, though, then we are like, okay, we'll give them a check and we'll give them all the support they need to build on Arch, and let's help them and let's move forward. Yeah.
Your confidence gets me so much more bullish on Arch, man. This is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I pivoted my entire fund. I will not invest in anything except for the Arch network ecosystem now from here on out.
Yeah, man. We got a super chat. Shout out to On with Sean. He says Arch Network is the application layer for Bitcoin. Bitcoin native dApps are coming thanks to Arch. Love DPI Capital. Side note: Brent Fisher makes it hard to concentrate because he's so ridiculously good looking. So thank you. You got us $21. I appreciate your good looks today.
That's my other GP. He's my partner. So I figured he was going to do something like that.
Absolutely amazing, Brent. Man, it's been great to meet you. I would love to do like a full episode on you, man. It's so great to talk to you, but I would love to give you stage one last time before we go after and talk to Hex.
Go ahead. What?
No, I said I'd love to give you stage one last time to kind of talk to our viewers. Maybe tell them where to come find you, or any last words.
Oh, yeah. It's DPIcapital.io, and obviously bfish411 on Telegram and Twitter, sorry, on X. I've been in this space since 2013. I'll tell you this. I've been in this space since 2013. I've been an investor. I've been an LP. Now with a VC fund, as GP of my own VC fund. This is the first podcast I've ever done. I do not get up on panels. I am a very private person. I've kept anonymity for over a decade in this space. But I am so bullish on this, and Nick asked me to come on, so I said, okay, I'll do it. But I told a couple friends that I was coming on a podcast, and they're like, no way, you're coming out from behind the curtain for the first time? And I was like, yeah, this is it. So
after this one, you're gonna get a whole lot of requests, I tell you that.
Yeah, man. Good. No problem. I appreciate you guys having me, and I'll come on anytime. Just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, you might be my another co-host, man. It's just been awesome to talk to you, and that you did an amazing job, by the way. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Brent. Yeah,
Bye.
good to meet
See you,
you.
Brent.
All right. Love the
Absolutely
energy,
amazing.
man.
And
Love the energy.
yeah, that's like
But
the best part of people, right?
yeah.
You get a lot of people on, like, and they're very to themselves, right? They're not like you know, out there, you know, they're not pushing. These everyone we've talked to today has been, you know, energy's been so high, and I think that's because of Arch.
Yeah, I mean, and the the interest and the education, the passion, you know, it really shows, and it's great to see a lot of these, you know, VCs, investment companies, you know, have people who have the technical knowledge. You know, you can tell it's not just, hey, we're just giving money, you know, and we're, you know, we invest in all these other things, but you know, these guys are Bitcoin based, right? I mean, that's awesome to see.
Yeah, 100%. Bitcoin's got the energy again, man. I'm feeling it, bro. I'm feeling that 2023 feeling again, man. I'm excited. But let's bring our next guest in. Let's bring in Hex. Hex, man. Thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Brent is such a legend. The DPI guys are the best. So glad that he's come out of the woodwork finally, because yeah, DPI is a fund. Like, I mean, we've dealt with a lot of funds now, and they're like some of the most helpful people we've ever had the pleasure of engaging with. So yeah, much love to Brent out there. Hopefully he's still listening.
100%, man. And you know, when you talk about Arch, you can't not talk about Saturn and what you guys are building there. Could you give a quick breakdown for anyone who doesn't know what Saturn is?
Yeah, so I mean, I put the tweet out the other day, and I think it encapsulates it quite perfectly. It's just like, if you want to see what Arch is capable, go on Saturn. I think for a lot of people, like the whole meta protocol, and you kind of get lost in a lot of the verbiage around the technology, and you kind of lose sight on what it really offers. What it offers is just a seamless user experience on Bitcoin. We're talking transactions that feel as quick as Solana. There's no need to know about UTXO management, block timings, anything. It's just a simple DEX as you'd expect to use it on any high performant L2, except it's on the base layer of Bitcoin. And I think Brent is onto something when he talks about kind of like the end game here of sorts. And if you can make Bitcoin work, like, this is a vampire attack on the rest of the industry. And I think that there's something quite biblical in that. And I think there's a lot of people that feel a great sense of responsibility there. And so, yeah, Saturn, I think, is just like the perfect embodiment of what Arch is capable of. So yeah, we function as a few things. I mean, for people that are familiar with the Solana ecosystem, we function both as Jupiter and as Radian, being able to provide LPs, but also having really good swaps with the best slippage options, the best performance. And that's just because it's an early ecosystem. I mean, it is quite nice. I have to say, I am feeling quite liberated this week a bit of a Nate Diaz moment. I'm not surprised. For the longest time, people, I think, kind of wrote off Arch and wrote off Runes, wrote off Bitcoin, because they just didn't quite realize what it was capable of. And now, yeah, I mean, as people kind of see the fundraise being announced the other day, I think people's eyes are opening to, like, yeah, there's some serious people paying attention to this. And yeah, it's very, very cool. There's a lot of momentum right now.
Amen.
Nice. Hey, I just started playing around with the Saturn wallet, man. It's pretty sleek on the testnet. I think it's going to be a good deal. I can't wait till you guys go live. Do you have any idea when that's going to happen?
I mean, we're in the process at the moment. I mean, Arch is getting audited right now. We're getting audited at the moment. Main thing is making everything is completely watertight. But since then, we've just been making optimizations. We pushed a huge update this week that integrates the Titan indexer. For any would-be builders out there as well, we have the Titan indexer that can index Rune transactions at the speed of Arch. And that's how we can achieve like these like sub-millisecond transaction feelings on Saturn. And that can be applied to any application on Arch. So any application building on Arch right now can have that same kind of responsiveness. The Titan indexer is completely free, completely open source, so you're free to use that as well. We've also built out our Oracle now, which gets us towards provable decentralization for Saturn, so people can kind of see everything out in the open. That's also going to be open source shortly. And yeah, we've been moving along. We've got 2 fun product updates coming next week as well. But yeah, main thing is just making sure all of the smart contracts are watertight. I mean, I think Dan did a good job of saying this about kind of like gritty founders that are willing to get something like this over the line. I think it's easy to overlook how much does go into this. I mean, not only have you got to make the impossible happen, you've also got to build a whole new tech stack and then smart contracts on top of it. and also make sure that's completely watertight, because there's, like you said, there's going to be a lot of institutional money pouring into this, and we just can't risk any upsets. So yeah, it's a lot going into this at the moment. But yeah, we are aligned. We want mainnet as soon as possible, but as soon as we are certain it's safe to do so, that's when we will do.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more, man. Saturn's definitely going to be the pillar, and we're hearing, you know, we're actually hearing for the first time Arch VM, right? I haven't really heard that up until this point. Arch VM is awesome. I'd love to kind of maybe kind of get into that a little bit, and then maybe kind of get a little bit deeper into the Titan indexer and why you open sourced it.
So I mean, like we saw a huge potential in Arch, obviously early on, and I mean, we've always been getting towards what we hope to be like the gold standard of trading on Bitcoin long before Arch. I mean, this was when we were like a rare Satoshi order book. This is when we were first kind of toying with the ideas about what fungible tokens on Bitcoin could really even look like. And yeah, we spent a long time thinking about what were the potential routes, and Arch was, yeah, just clearly the best route for us. But they're a new team. There's a whole new ecosystem. There's so many moving parts to go into this. So we made a big effort to kind of get as close as we could to the Arch team. And Marcos, our dev, even flew out and coded with Amin for a couple of weeks as well, just to kind of like make sure he was as legit as he seemed. Fortunately, he did come back as good news. And yeah, since then, like we knew we could deliver a really good product, and we knew that Arch can also deliver on their tech promises. What we didn't know is, can we sell everyone else on this dream? Can we sell other builders on this dream? And part of that journey is making it as easy as possible to build on Arch. So that's why Marcos also built the SDK for Arch. We've also made the Titan indexer as well. So new teams don't have to spend obscene amounts of money on RPC providers. They have a free indexer they can use. And yeah, just want to make that onboarding experience as easy as possible. I mean, even our moderators have gone above and beyond and are communicating some of the newer tech things into just easy to read documentation. And I mean, we're in chats with 7-8 different teams at the moment, just going through documentation that we've written to help other people build on Arch. So it's, and that's, we spoke about this a couple of weeks back, Shizzy, about how Bitcoin this cycle has been a little bit kind of crabs in a bucket-esque, with everyone kind of wanting to take their own protocol or token design or idea in a million different directions. And there hasn't really been that kind of builder camaraderie that we saw in like early success stories like Solana. But in Arch, we have that at the moment, and it's really, really special. And I think that's kind of a lot of the motivation behind their recent campaigning or their marketing campaigning that Nick's been putting together, and he's done a fantastic job of going back to like these early 90s startup cultures. And there's something very romantic about that real gritty builder mentality when you're still in the garage trying to make the dream happen. And Arch is the only place that you still can get that right now in crypto. And that's really, really special. So, I mean, Arch in Dubai next week is going to be amazing. That's the first Genesis event of Arch. And yeah, I mean, if like Brent says, if Arch is the end game of crypto, the Genesis event in Dubai next week is going to be quite special. Like, I think like the photos there that people are taking and the people that go, the memories that are made. If this all plays out as we hope, that's going to be a pretty legendary week. So yeah, I mean, feels really cool to be where we're at the moment.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. It's gonna be crazy out in Dubai, man. I hope you guys have some fun too. I know you guys it'll be a work trip for you. You gonna be out there?
I'll be out there. Yeah. I'm not sure how much fun we'll be having, but I mean, yeah, there's so much to do at the moment. But yeah, it'd be cool.
100%.
I think it's 36 degrees there at the minute at 4 a.m. in the morning. So as a British guy, I don't know how well I'm going to deal with that.
Yeah, 100%, man. But I'd love to give you the stage one last time. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Yeah, I mean, as always, Shizzy and Derik, good to meet you, by the way, Derik. Thanks for having us. You guys do a fantastic job. Like ourselves, you kind of saw the vision of Arch long before anyone else. So I think you'll enjoy the spotlight over the next few months. For anyone that's interested in Arch from a builder perspective, please reach out to me or anyone else in the Arch team. You can DM the Saturn account. We're here to help. There's funding on standby. There's a whole ecosystem to build, and you'd be surprised how many opportunities there are still to be found here. So the door is wide open for anyone that kind of wants to make an impact. So yeah, please feel free to reach out. And aside from that, yeah, I mean, just enjoying the good times, and hopefully we can keep this momentum going and mainnet as soon as possible.
Hey, Hex, before you go, man, are there any plans for a platform token?
Well, we are doing an incentivized farming at the moment. That's as much as I can say at the moment, and there will be progressions of that. So, yeah, take that as you will. But I think the people that have been helping us out in testnet are going to be some happy users.
You heard him, guys. Use the
Alpha,
testnet.
alpha.
Be a happy user. Thanks so much, Hex.
Yeah, cheers, Shizzy. Cheers, Zach. See ya.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely awesome. Nick, you still there? Maybe not, but that's been absolutely awesome, man. Really appreciate you, Derik, man. Really helping me out today. I couldn't have done this without you today. It was a long show and long grind, man, but
Awesome.
absolutely amazing, man. I'll love to give you the stage one last time for some last words for you, man.
Well, I know today, man, I left the show very bullish on Arch Network. So I'll definitely go dig into that a little bit more, learning about some of the institutional stuff, man, because that's so important. But yeah, I mean, look, we're in a very instrumental phase right now, right? We're looking at all these political events playing out. And, you know, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, man, I think this is a good place to keep stacking and adding to your bags. You know, I'm in the trenches, you know, every day, man. So if you guys want to, you know, connect with me, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Derik Screen. I'm continuing to connect and build with people. Love to connect and build with you guys. And I'll be in Vegas at Bitcoin 2025. Love to connect with some of you guys on some of the side events, man. So let's chop it up, man, and, you know, continue to build together. It's going to be a great Q3, Q4 2025. And I want all of us to win, man. So let's get it. Thanks, Shizzy.
100%. No problem, man. And we met each other in Bitcoin Nashville. So, you know, Bitcoin Las Vegas is going to be insane, man. But again, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you.
See you, bud.
All right.
Absolutely amazing, guys. Really appreciate it. We got 683 people in here right now. Appreciate every single one of you guys, man, mainly over on X, but it's been absolutely awesome. And if you guys have some time, wouldn't mind checking out our partners, definitely want to check out Emblem Vault. Emblem Vault, they're building the AI product of Solana. I mean, they're building, in my opinion, the top one. They're competing with the likes of Hey Anon and Orbit and a lot of those guys. But Agent Hustle, if you haven't checked them out yet, you definitely need to. You can actually do some really amazing things with him. He'll actually scan the pump fund for you and find you the best tokens. He's absolutely awesome. Go check out agenthustle.ai and then Bet BTC. They are building a predictions market on ICP right now. They're actually building it every day. These guys are building, and you guys can go check that out at betbtc.win. Right now, their site is very normal, but in the future, they're going to be adding something pretty incredible, which is you're able to bet with friends, make challenges for your friends, something way different than what you see on Polygon. They are building something really special. And then make sure you guys are checking out Artura.finance. Artura, they're going to be on mainnet on Hemi really soon. And it is going to be awesome because not only are they going to do an airdrop, but there's a possibility of Hemi doing one too. Hemi is actually backed by Binance. So that's a token that you might try and get. I mean, I'll be using some low leverage and some low money over on there when they first start. But guys, I want you guys to go all the way over there and check out Artura.finance. Check out Fluid Tokens as well. Fluid Tokens, they're building staking on Bitcoin. They're actually building DeFi on Bitcoin. They're not waiting for Arch, right? You can actually go there and you can stake your assets and earn yield on them today. And they're possibly building on Arch as well. They're building, they have something going on Stacks. These guys are builders. You guys are UTXO builders. They are some of the top builders in this place. Raul has been just absolutely killing it. Every meeting with them they just blow my mind of the stuff that they're building. Guys, go check out fluidtokens.com and then check out Merlin Chain. Merlin Chain, they're building the Wizard, another AI project. I think every project right now has an AI type of strategy right now. And Merlin, you know, they just did that big thing with Wrapped Bitcoin that we were talking about earlier, where Jeff is going to be one of the signers on that. So that is absolutely amazing. Guys, go check out everything at merlinchain.io. And then our integrated partners, we got Foxy. They are actually getting ready to do something huge. Collaboration and stuff like that. They're not just one game. They're going to be multiple games. They're going to be an entire genre of crypto Web3 games. So you can check them out at foxy.co. And then Ordinal Hive. They're really doing really awesome stuff. They're actually building one of the fastest aggregators of ordinals. You're going to buy an ordinal, make sure you guys are going to beta.ordinalhive.io first, because that is where you're going to find the cheapest place and you can buy everything there. You can actually see the activity of every chain It's absolutely awesome. Go check out ordinalhive.io. And guys, this has been absolutely awesome. But if you have one more minute and wouldn't mind checking out OnChain Revolution.io, we have some of the best articles dating all the way back to last year. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them to our website. We got some of the new stuff here. Bitcoin tokens are taking the stage. Magic Eden acquires Slingshot. Go check out this article, brand new. And if you guys need a VPN, we have the #1 VPN that I use. That is NordVPN, guys. No one should be using the internet without a VPN. Nobody should be using the internet without a VPN, guys. You guys need a VPN and make that Nord. You can get a 70% off coupon using our link here. It's $3 a month. I think I paid $36 for the year. Check it out here at our website. And then Bitcoin 2025, Las Vegas. You heard Derik say it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, but do not wait till May to get your tickets. Get them as soon as possible. They go up every Friday. Tomorrow, they'll probably be more expensive than they are today. So if you're looking to get tickets, get them through our website. They got festival passes, industry pass. Industry pass is a little bit more expensive, but it's the one that I like because you can see that first day gets you all 3 days. It's absolutely amazing. Check out everything here at OnChainRevolution.io. If you need merch for that event or any event, click our store tab. We got shirts, jackets, hats, all done through a third-party Shopify. We add the logos, but you guys can check out everything here on the website, OnChainRevolution.io. And guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. And until tomorrow, peace.
OnChain Revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough. No. You're not bullish enough. No. Look at the price go. Bitcoin controlling. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed, gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and arching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain Revolution.